All right. Welcome back to
Anne and Mimi's Crabbiness Hour.
Today we're going to be doing the What the Flock episode. But before we dive into that, there's a really important thing that we actually want to bring up.
And that is, I was ready to blow this off for my own sake, but it was brought to my attention that people on Facebook were suggesting that Anne and I are misusing city resources by doing this podcast. And the assumption I have to believe is that Holyoke Media is part of the city government of Holyoke, funded by the taxpayers. This is 100% wrong, and it is to the city's great benefit that it's wrong, because this is a huge, brilliant resource that the city has. So we thought we would ask Johan Rashi Vega to explain what Holyoke Media really is and really does.
Yes. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everybody. I'm Johan Rashi Vega, and it's always great to have people participating on both sides, here inside, and whoever, including ourselves, is looking and watching the content on the other side, on the television or your screen. Holyoke Media is an independent media outlet working for the community of Holyoke. We are an independent 501c3 organization, private owned, and yes, we have a strong relationship with the city. We are part of the system of the public access community stations. Every station like us in every municipality, it is assigned based on the company, the franchise of the cable service. In this case, as we know, Comcast is that provider in the city of Holyoke, and part of the funds that Comcast provides are destined to the operation of this local television station. The relationship that Holyoke Media has with the city, it has to do with the obligation of covering every government meeting and session, so that way public can be informed of everything happening on the local level. We also have the obligation of cover everything related to the school department, the school district, so that way Channel 12 particularly is assigned to everything that is created and happening from the Holyoke Public Schools. And we are operating Channel 23 as the channel for the community and the public. And this is part of this programming that you are watching right now. This is a program that is created by the independent producers, in this case, City Councilors Thalheimer and Mimi Panitch. And you can also be a producer. It's just a matter of coming into our location in One Court Plaza in Holyoke, Mass. And we can talk and plan the production of what it will be a potential program, a segment, and you will be trained on how to do this. This is part of our work and our service as a public access community television. And programs like this and many of the other offerings that you get to see in this channel and also on our different digital platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, it is because that is part of the service we provide. And we do it free of charge for the public. So check us out, holyokemedia.org. You can find more information about the work we do, how we were created, and how can you be part of the programming or suggesting ideas to contribute to the programming that Holyoke Media offers for the public in Holyoke and Valley. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thanks, man. That was much more elegant than either of us could have done. All right, so here's our running list for today. Fiber optic, which was a carryover from last time, we still haven't really dived into yet. What the Flock, because I want to talk about flock cameras, because they've been here for a while, but people are just noticing. WTF Ordinance, which I think is going to be on every single one of our discussion lists. The Plant Rant Traffic Island Ruckus of 2028 or 2026. The Comp Plan, which is
an ongoing... Eventually, this is not going to be a mess. Eventually, this is going to be a great thing for Holyoke, and we will all get together, for the most part, and work through it.
Yes.
But we are not going to do that without a few more speed bumps, I fear.
Don't say speed bumps. People get itchy about speed bumps.
people do get itchy about speed bumps.
I mean, what speed bumps on the list? But I hear you still hate the voters.
Really? News to me.
And we both think they're dumb, is what I think people are saying. So that's on the list. Also, Mimi, why'd you cut the police budget? Because we did just finish the budgets, and people seem to be like, city council, except we actually did not do that. But also the truck-eating bridge.
Yes. My favorite potential idea of the year so far.
Yes, but then we can also talk about clacker balls, which makes me laugh. So where would you like to begin? We have a pretty great list here.
Well, let's talk about the flock cameras.
Okay.
Because this is a curiosity.
Yes.
And also, I think we are all deeply aware of the growing problem of surveillance in American society.
Sure.
And there are things where, you hear about them and absolutely, like, great idea. Let us photograph the license plates of people who are speeding by school buses because that's illegal and it endangers children and
this is a thing that we have recently done. This is a thing that came through ordinance and will be happening.
Yeah. And at this point, when we interviewed the company that did this, they were very sensitive about the need to be careful with the data they captured.
Yes.
And they had systems set up to make sure that this was only going to be used to find drivers who behaved in this way. Otherwise, the data was just going to be deleted. No, it was not going to be available to the police for random crimes that were committed in the neighborhood where the camera was active. Mm-hmm. No, it was not going to be retained.
Right. So let's back up and talk about, because some surveillance is good.
Yeah.
And some surveillance is super bad. Like, tons of people have Ring cameras, and you use that for, making sure a delivery shows up when it's supposed to, or, busting. Porch pirates are still a thing. And we'll talk about theft and larceny a little bit later of the plant variety. But then there's the question of what surveillance goes over the top and how. Do you want a camera that's going to clock people that run through a red light? We have photo enforced tickets in work zones all the time on highways. What's extra bad about flock? Because let's get real, flock is bad.
We need to know that, for instance, general information is not being shared without the public's examination and specific willingness to have it recorded there. We need to know that it is not going to Palantir and to certain government authorities without our permission. Some of us feel that we should know that it is not being used to train AI.
Good point.
Or any further monetization. It's okay, if your city is paying for flock surveillance, it ought to be in charge of where the data goes. It should not be a thing where, all right, flock's second income stream, besides the fees from the city, are from wherever they can sell this information to. Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting things about flock, which people had been relying on and just assuming was benign, is that people started to realize that they would end their city contracts with flock. And the cameras, which presumably have some value, would mysteriously stay in place. Mm-hmm. And mysteriously, they still seem to be recording data. And
you don't say.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I have lost the name of the city in the Midwest where the mayor asked politely for flock to remove its cameras a couple of times.
They did not.
And the mayor went out and started putting black plastic garbage bags over the cameras.
Yep.
And mysteriously, a few weeks later, the flock came out and removed its cameras once they had the black bags over them.
But then they added the contract where you have to pay.
Oh, yeah. No, recent news reports say that now there are provisions in your contract with Flock that say that you need to compensate them if you discontinue the program and want them removed.
Yeah, it's pretty shady. And do you know how many Flock cameras we have in Holyoke?
Isn't it 7?
We have 9.
Okay.
6 of them are at the Holyoke Mall.
So that's presumably private land.
That is private land. That is nothing that we can do about. But 3 of them are out and about in the city. And one of them is in my ward. And so I went and found it. Because they are different. They look a little bit different because they're solar powered. And so often they're on like a freestanding stick with a camera and a solar panel. But this one's a little bit higher up. It's on the corner where you turn off a South Street and you're kind of heading down into the city. And it tracks both ways. So yeah, there are 2 others in the city. Are you familiar with deflock.org?
I am not.
Okay, so deflock.org, basically you can put in your municipality, not just Holyoke, but anywhere that has it. And it's not just Holyoke. Like, they're in Chicopee, they're in Agawam. East Hampton had a big ruckus about this a while ago. And we're talking about, like, 2023. Like, some of the articles that I found were looking at 2023. And yeah, there was East Hampton. Surrounding communities have them. So it's not just Holyoke. Like, realistically, if you have been driving in Massachusetts any time with the last bunch of years, you have probably been recorded by a flock camera multiple times. So yeah, you can find them on deflock.org.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just recently popped up. People are like, what are you doing about these things? I'm like, let's find out. Dig in. They've been here since before either of us got on the council. So if people are upset, like, Holyoke City Council allowed flock cameras, like, A, we're the legislative branch, we probably didn't, and B, they've already been here for a bunch of years.
Yeah, but I have to say, good on the public for paying attention to this and making sure we knew about it.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, it would be interesting to know how they were authorized, who authorized them, whether there has been an attempt to remove them, but they're still there in recording.
Right, and what's with the data? Because think about where they're located. If they're located in places where, like, people are concerned about bridge infrastructure, for example, because that's a thing. When we talk about, like, security and safety and protections, bridges are frequently on that list of things to protect. If those are pointed at bridges and they're kind of monitoring that, is that different from one pointed at a particularly gnarly intersection where a lot of traffic accidents happen?
Yeah, which I would think would be a good use, particularly given that what we know about traffic engineering is that it is not quite as scientifically founded as the word engineering might make you think.
Right. Well, there's also the human element, because one of the big things that happens a lot, at least in my ward, is people squeeze the lemon. Do you know this phrase? When the light turns yellow and you try to zip through it, squeeze the lemon. Except they're not squeezing the lemon, they're squeezing the tomato. Because it's red, and they just blow the light, which is not great.
Yeah, but which is something that you would think with the increasing amount of data and computer power we have, you could model.
Right.
And there was a point a few years ago where I started looking into this, and it turned out that there were beginning to be systems where you could actually tweak for, are your drivers angry all the time, because it makes a difference to user behavior.
That's a good point.
But I can see the argument for put this in temporarily, say, at the corner of your traffic island.
Yeah.
Where there's going to be a huge development coming in.
Correct. I mean, and also would have helped with the plant larceny, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But also there's the question of, like, how much of a surveillance of society do we want to be?
Well, exactly. And that is something for a community conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
And it isn't necessarily a problem that these cameras are there, but we kind of
what
want
you
to know
do with the data.
What they're doing with the data. Can we claw back any control?
Right.
And whose are they?
Exactly. I mean, failing that, we're just going to put big heads on them. That's my solution to everything these days. It's like Erling Haaland's big, goofy Norwegian head.
Be aware.
Be aware.
Be very afraid.
Holland is watching you. More to say on flock, more to say on surveillance, more to say on this?
Not really. I mean, we will get to it.
We'll get to it. I mean, it sounds like the start of a conversation because...
Yeah, it is sort of on the agenda for public safety in general.
Yep.
Along with associated things like, okay, big article out in The Guardian today about the dangers of so-called crowd control, both training and materials. The city council, I think, before we got on
this was a budget thing that popped up.
This was a thing that happened in, I believe, October. The then city council authorized some money for the police for training and crowd control I don't want to call them munitions, but I suppose they are. But,
Yeah.
and you kind of want to know, and it's part of a public safety discussion, what precisely the training looks like in case those ever have to be deployed.
Yeah, I mean, those are good questions, because it's like, are you going to try to encourage people to go away, or am I going to get, like, tear gassed?
Yeah.
I would like not to get tear
emerging
gassed.
issues, things that you would not even have thought about had this come up 3 years ago.
Right.
But yeah, that's a conversation that I think will take place in the next 6 months. It's not a conversation happening now.
Right. I mean, we got plenty to talk about in the next 6 months, but yeah, this is probably one that, will legitimately pass through public safety for a conversation at some point, because somebody authorized these, somebody signed off on them, somebody has answers to all of those questions, but we are neither of those people currently. I mean, that may change too, but...
So, okay, what's next on the list?
You tell me, where do you want to go? I mean, we got a lot here. You want to talk about, as long as we're talking about surveillance, you want to talk about the traffic island? Did you see my plants? They were great.
I saw your plants very briefly.
So did the rest of Holyoke, apparently. Yeah.
I just feel so bad for the volunteers who worked on that.
They're amazing. Like, the Holyoke Garden Club is incredible. Which is, the whole thing is kind of a bummer, because we actually sat down and, like, picked out some, like, what is going to be an appropriate plant to this island. Because we picked out catmint, and we picked out stonecrop, and we picked out ornamental chives, all of which bloom at slightly different times, and they all bloom purple for Holyoke. And then one of the members of the garden club also contributed a lily from their private garden, from their private collection. And all 7 of them were liberated from the island by a shovel sometime between like 5:30 on Friday night and 10 a.m. on Saturday, when one of the garden club folks who was maintaining the cemetery was like, hey, where'd the plants go? So that's a thing. And folks have been like, well, aren't there security cameras? Maybe you need to air tag the plants. I'm like, maybe people shouldn't steal stuff.
Yeah, I remain surprised by the degree to which people's reaction was, they're plants. People steal plants. Didn't you know that?
Or people who are like, what'd you expect from Holyoke? Like, well, I expected better. I mean, the amount... Because I posted about this on my public candidate page, because I wanted to sort of track the response, and I wanted it to use it as a way to push back on some of this, like, oh, it's Holyoke. Who cares, Or, oh, the panhandlers did it. I'm like, the likelihood of a panhandler rolling up with a shovel and excavating 7 plants for some magic resale market where they don't have pots and it's like 8:30 at night, like, hey, you want to buy an allium? Like, that just seems so... It just seems so, like, not just wrong, but, like, on its face classist and maybe a little racist. Because there were also folks who were like, go ask the people up on Tokeniki. And so my strategy on this has been, when somebody posts something like this, and because it's public, it's like some dude in Detroit and somebody in, like, West Hampton and Westfield and all of this stuff kind of rolling in, but my strategy on this has been like, could you explain very precisely what you mean when you say this? Because it calls them to account. And people, there were a couple of people who were like, well, I was just coming by to comment on this. Why are you picking on me? I'm like, listen, you have the right to free speech, but you don't have the right to be free of the consequences of that speech. If you're going to show up on a public page and just dogpile on the negativity and not expect to be called out on it, that's a you problem. I mean, Holyoke, we talk all the time about how Holyoke punches above its weight. And I think this larger picture, like this traffic island program, is a microcosm of that. Because it's something that, I mean, the mayor's office is running it now, but it was run by a different organization for quite some time before that. And there are like 100 different traffic islands in the city. And people all the time are like, why aren't people planting and maintaining these traffic islands? People come off the highway and Holyoke just looks terrible. Why isn't anybody doing anything? Except people are doing things. And then individuals come by and ruin it. And, like, I kind of refuse to let them dim my shine on this one, because I don't believe that Holyoke has to settle for this. I don't believe that people are like, what'd you expect? It's just Holyoke. I'm like, no, Holyoke deserves better. I expect better from people. And to that end, because I'm exactly that kind of weirdo, We found out about this. We were talking about this because my Ward 3, actually had a block party on Saturday at Laurel Park, which went super well. It was great. All the time when I was out door knocking, people were like, why don't we have a block party? I'm like, let's do a block party. So Izzy Rivera and I got together. We had a block party. The Holyoke Historical Society was doing their garden tour, and we were a stop on that because also they've been working with a bunch of awesome plants, by the way, none of which have gotten stolen, and don't you dare, because we're going to air tag those suckers. And I know that there are cameras on Laurel Park because a number of the houses in that neighborhood have cameras that extend into the park. So that is a
that has
widely and
surveillance.
privately surveilled place. So I was like, the block party was great. We can talk about that a little bit later on, but we had all this extra cold water left over, and folks were like, what are you gonna do with the water? I'm like, let's just go put it in the island. People are so mad about the unhoused being there. It's supposed to get hot in the next bunch of days. Let's go do it. So we plopped 30 bottles of water in all those different, dugout divots in the ground. As I checked back over the last bunch of days, a bunch of the water bottles were gone. There was no trash. People have not been dumping trash all over the place. There's actually a bucket on the traffic island, and everybody's been putting the trash in the bucket like civilized human beings, right? And people have been drinking the water, which is what we put it there for. And then today, because I'm exactly that kind of kid, I'm like, what is the funniest thing that I've seen all week long? It's Erling Haaland's big, goofy, awesome Norwegian face. This guy, super good striker for Man United, played for the Norwegian team. I love the World Cup. I've been having a great time watching it. I wish Scotland was better at football, but they clearly won the party. So anyway, you guys can roll by my island and enjoy Erling Haaland's big, awesome face for the next period of time. And who knows what'll come next. Yeah. Roo, you got it. Yeah.
But it occurs to me as I listen to this that maybe, although obviously there's going to be a certain amount of vandalism, I keep talking about this because I just got back from Paris, and I love Paris, and it is actually a contemporary city in many ways to Holyoke, because the rebuilding happened in the 19th century, and most of what people think of as Paris is, it happened at the same time. We are not sister cities, even though Blanche Skinner does have that fabulous quote about there being only 3 cities in the world, those being Holyoke, Paris, and New York. But one of the things that Paris is doing is installing, as it were, sidewalk islands. They have giant sidewalks in many places, also little narrow streets that can be converted to pedestrian streets in some districts really easily. But you walk through, and where there used to be car space, or just too much pedestrian space heating things up because it's concrete, it's asphalt, what have you, they have these giant, as it were, traffic islands just plopped down in the sidewalks, and people have planted them, and they've planted them beautifully. And it really does have a cooling effect on the city, as well as making it more attractive to walk through. And if we have 250 of these, or was it 150?
Well, there's 100 of them, but only 25 of them have been claimed.
If they haven't been claimed, and I'm going to loop this in with another, you could call it a beautification effort, or you could just point and laugh. But
oh, I know where this is going, and I can't wait.
Yeah, no, this is the truck-eating bridges
and clacker walls.
We have some bridges that are low enough that routinely trucks try to drive through and get caught. And we have tried, and people have come up with various, warning X feet, warning if your car or truck is higher than this traffic arm.
Turn around. Yeah, no.
But nevertheless, the bridges keep claiming victims.
Yeah, we have an order on this in public safety that we were like, I don't know what to do with this, because there's an engineering piece or funky design piece that clearly needs to happen.
Yeah, but it occurred to me, and it has in the past, but I've never had any particular platform to speak from. What we might want to do, because, we like, this is Holyoke, we like street art, is see if we can get Mass DOT or whoever is in charge to let us paint these things as monster faces with big teeth.
Can't be mad about
jaws.
this.
And seriously, we could have a design contest for it. We could open it up to the people of Holyoke.
I mean, keep going, but I have a side thing I want to talk about working on spec, because I got feelings about that.
Yeah, but, not unlike the occasional efforts that you see in Great Britain to, name this new piece of equipment.
Our snowplow contest.
Yes.
Gallagher, I hope you're listening. We're going to talk.
Boaty McBoatface.
Plowy McPlowface.
But in all seriousness, if we had permission to do it, and the appropriate paint, I'm sure it would cost something, but it wouldn't cost a ton. If we could maybe raise some grant funding so that there would be at least an honorarium for people who, whose designs ended up in the top 3 by
I'm warming up to this now.
It could be
an awesome community event.
A huge community event. It could make the city so much visually cooler.
Save a bunch of trucks.
Save some trucks, potentially, because I don't know if you're looking at the monster jaws, possibly.
You don't want to drive into the monster jaws, but can we also talk about clacker balls for a second?
Yeah, we can certainly also talk about clanker balls, which actually you can see where they would stomp the problem.
Right.
But I do want to first loop back to if we already have traffic islands and possible places where you could make or sidewalk islands or closed street islands. If you could come up with the funding, and again, I don't think this would necessarily be hugely expensive, to bring in plants.
Yeah.
Whatever, even potential irrigation for the plants.
Yep.
And just say, hey, design your own gardens, guys.
That would be pretty cool. I mean, that's the wrinkle. Then it kind of becomes like, it'd be awesome to do. And then you're going to get a bunch of people being like, oh, people are going to steal the plants. Like, we have people who steal plants out of memorial gardens.
We do, but if this is a true community event and you have people surrounding the island who are watching it because, their daughter helped plant it.
Right.
It does help build community. It helps build investment.
Yep.
And people get to know their neighbors, and potentially you have some fun.
Ideally, yes. Yeah, it blows my mind that there are so many people who are like, we should improve this thing and it looks terrible without it and blah, 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 and then actually don't do anything. They just complain.
Well, because somebody needs to organize the response. And, I recognize that I am not necessarily the person to do that because, I...
Yeah, but think about cross-agency things, right?
But
we have a lot of
we have a lot of organizations, and we have, I think, Holyoke remains a genuine community.
Yeah.
It is eerie, the degree to which it does.
It's a city that runs like a small town.
Yeah. And...
for better or worse. Sometimes worse.
Sometimes worse, but I still think that there's something that can be built from that. Because I think the majority wants it to be. You do have a vocal portion of the population that just says, Holyoke has fallen.
But these are also the same people who were like, we're going to leave. Like, they got mad about the election. They're like, we're out. We're going to leave. Yeah. They're still here. That's cool.
Yeah. And there's still people who are here because they grew up here.
Yep.
They loved it when they were kids. They still have strong ties here.
They own property. They're attached to their house.
People show up for each other in a way that still makes statewide headlines when something bad happens.
That is true.
And, it's little things that sometimes change the world, or at least change your immediate community. And I have a college-related story, but it's a detour.
I mean, I have a college-related story that actually goes to the clacker balls, but I mean, the college-related story is this. I did my graduate work, as most people know, at the University of Delaware, and we had a notorious truck-eating bridge, at least two, huge signs, like, if you don't turn around now, you're going to lose it. Because, they thought it was students moving in or whatever. And so after so much of this, they finally just basically set up, if you imagine, like, a great big arm, and then they have a bunch of balls hanging down from it, like ones that make noise. Sort of like, it looks similar to those toys like this, the
clacker balls.
This one is just like, the clacker is the truck. And if you hit them, you're too low, and you need to stop. And it has vastly improved the situation in Newark. Like...
Yeah. No, it's absolutely a brilliant solution.
You can make them all look like eyeballs. Maybe not. I do like the truck, though. It feels very Parisian, like those, gargoyles and those kinds of things. So, I don't think it's impossible.
Yeah. No, I think it would be fun.
I think it's a coalition. We're supposed to be on recess, and we're both making more work for ourselves.
Well, we are supposed to be on recess, and we are on recess
allegedly
because ordinance is not meeting.
That's true. This is the first month all year where we haven't had a single ordinance meeting, although there's been some email.
Yeah. Well, ordinance is presumably our work. We are a legislative body, and ordinance is where the legislation goes.
Yep. And we did recently do a big good thing, so...
Yeah, and actually I should mention this because I do get periodic questions about it. I am not 100% sure yet of exactly what the structure of that advisory committee on data centers is going to be, because I'm not 100% sure yet how appointments to the public-facing positions will be made, or the positions for members of the public. But that is very much in progress. It will go no further until the city council can meet again and talk about it. But there is some discussion about what it needs to address, and it is going to be focused on the nitty-gritty of data centers and whether there are any things that could be defined as data centers that we would actually want to have in Holyoke.
Right, but the good thing is we don't have to do it on a deadline.
We don't have to do it on a deadline. And I think that is a huge relief, because it could so easily blow up and we could end up with no protection at all once again if we had to do it on a deadline, or else lose that.
Right. And I think there's also something to be said, like, the community turned out in force.
Oh, yeah.
And that was great. And I don't know why we don't see that level of... I know that's hard to have that level of engagement for all things, but... it's awesome. Like, how do we get that kind of engagement on the regular? Or how do we do it when people are not mad about a thing, but they're excited about a thing?
I think we need more news.
Like
I don't know how you do that. I know we're contributing to it right here, right now.
Like creating news?
No,
Just
reporting. Because the thing about the data centers was...
Oh, yeah, that went a little sideways.
It was really... To me, it was interesting because, as you know, I'd been going on about it back during election season.
You don't say.
So we introduced it really early, and nobody was interested. And it was this weird, geeky thing that...
Or people were interested, but they didn't know that it was... They didn't know it had quite such urgency to it.
Yeah, but it just completely blew up in national news over April, May.
Yeah, we hit the zeitgeist on that one.
Yeah, and I didn't necessarily expect that. I kind of thought it was something that, if you looked at it, it was important and it needed to be done. But It was going to be one of these quiet little things that just happened and nobody was going to notice or care.
And yet.
But I think the difference was national headlines.
Right, exactly. That's true. If people are seeing it kind of up here and then they're like, wait, this is happening in our community? How did we not know this was happening in our community?
Yeah. And also, the information was there, but you had to be reading the right news feeds.
Connecting the dots. Right.
And then suddenly it was everywhere, whether you were reading the news feeds or not.
Sure. I mean, sometimes that happens too. If you're looking at it on social media, you look at one thing, and then suddenly your whole feed is that entire thing, as evidenced by Holland's big, awesome Norwegian face.
Yeah, but I think really for community engagement in everything, you need to bring community in to the point where a whole lot of these things are a big, exciting deal.
I wish people were like, I wish we had more things where people were like, heck yeah, let's do this, as opposed to, heck no, let's not do this. Although maybe this is part of the new council too. Like, I think in previous terms, a lot of it was like, please don't do the thing. And then they would go ahead and do the thing. But like, why are you doing the thing? We wanted you not to do the thing. You just did the thing we didn't want you to do. The lawn sign ordinance, but many other things.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we do see happening now, and I'm not sure where to place the blame or the credit, is we're at least trying to attribute things that happen to the people who backed them or didn't.
Right.
And for whatever reason, for years and years, nobody had a clue who was backing what on the city council.
Sure.
Possibly because it was dead boring if you didn't already know the narrative.
I mean, some of it was boring and some of it got real spicy when people got told to jump in bodies of water.
Yeah, but even that is just a data point if you haven't been following the whole story.
Exactly. If you haven't been following the whole narrative, just like, oh, there it goes again. But, I mean, are there ways for people to get more engaged? Like, there are ways people can follow stuff, there's discussion, but how do we open those doors? Like, how do people get more involved? Because I don't necessarily want to be taking everybody by the hand and being like, yes, come to ordinance. Like, what do we do? What do people do? What do organizations do?
Well, I think one of the things that we do is we listen harder for ideas about what people can do. Mm-hmm. The whole co-governance thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very cool, but you need members of the public who are thinking in terms of policy solutions, who can actually consult helpfully with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know there are people who in some ways are trying. I saw a comment on social media not too long ago that said, the planning board must have known there was a structural problem with not being able to do hybrid meetings.
Oh,
and
boy.
Maybe the planning board should have gone on strike to demand more resources to set that up. And, okay, you're making a couple of assumptions there that may or may not be valid. One of them, of course, is that the planning board knows that there is a public hunger for hybrid meetings, which I can tell you from experience, the planning board not only does not know, but has reason to think was not something that actually existed before the last few months. But even so, this is the kind of thing where it's thinking out of the box, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it ignores the fact that the planning board exists as a statutory entity under state law that has a job to do.
Right.
It has a bunch of jobs to do. And it has to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like the new Kmart development, it's going to have to do full site plan review. It is going to have to review traffic plans. It is going to have to look at core infrastructure.
Although, side note, that would be a great moment, like a great teachable moment when people have been mad like, oh, there's no site plan for Elmwood Forest. Like, you don't want a site plan for Elmwood Forest. You want the forest to stay alone. This is a great opportunity to be like, what is a site plan process? What does that review look like?
Yeah, and I hope that it will draw a ton of attention.
That's the hope.
In the meantime, this is stuff that has to be done.
Yeah.
And the planning board cannot go on strike. If the planning board were to go on strike, even assuming that it felt very strongly about an issue and really, really was distressed about it, the mayor would fire every member of the planning board for cause, and the mayor would be right to do so. The planning board cannot decide that it is not going to issue special permits or hear applications for a zone change. And I'm sure this is true for many other boards and commissions. And interesting thought, but really not helpful. And you have to have spent time getting involved to understand why that's not helpful.
Is this a civics question? Is this a gap in understanding? Or is it just not knowing how stuff works?
I think to a certain extent it's not knowing how stuff works. Is in some one of the great Latin discussions of the Germanic tribes, I don't remember now who the writer is, but the writer notes that there's a tribe in Germany that debates all of its important questions twice. And the idea is they debate them once sober so that they don't do anything really, really stupid. But they also debate it once deliberately drunk so that people have wild ideas and they express them. And sometimes the wild ideas turn out to be great.
You know, I actually kind of dig this. I mean, this feels a little bit like Purim, you know, but also think about the bring your own restaurant. Like if people are going to have disagreements, like sit down and have some food together and see if you're still squabbling. I mean, maybe you end up throwing the food at each other, but also having those human interactions. I mean, this is sort of that say it to my face thing that I have all the time. People on the internet are like, blah, 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 and they feel some kind of way about me. I'm like, say it to my face.
Yeah, but this is the sort of bright version of the social media scrum.
Yeah.
And there is a bright version. It doesn't have to be dark and angry. It can be a, we are having strong opinions about this, but it is great. It is occasionally funny.
That's true.
It's what you do first year of law school, actually. If you go to a Socratic method school, you get pitched in with 175 other people who are used to having their opinions listened to, and you kind of get to yell at each other in a structured way.
Is there beer?
I have never known there to be beer, but you don't need it.
Okay, well, I was thinking about the Germanic tribes. Like, you have one round that's sober, and one round that's not, and see what happens.
Yeah. And
not that city council should do that. But
not that city council should do that, but that we should have venues where you can.
Right. I mean, we don't have town meetings, although I'm definitely thinking town meetings with beer is a bad idea. But opportunities for people to come in and have these kinds of discussions. I mean, it gets a little like... Sometimes that happens. Like, sometimes we get public forums. Like, I know that there are often candidate forums, but it's not sort of a discourse back and forth. It's how would you answer this question? And I always wish that there were more of those, like, hey, what would you do with this thing? Because I want to see how people respond in real time.
Yeah, and I think you need to have a culture of that.
Yeah.
Because, one of the things, I think that 2008 or so was the last time that TV pundits actually noticed this. But you can look and see, if you have candidate forums, candidate debates, the best ones are where members of the public comment and ask questions. The ones where the official, havers of wisdom do all of the questioning, it's boring. They don't come up with interesting questions. They come up with, inside the beltway gotcha stuff that no one cares about. But you let people just talk, and you give them a culture that says, this is what you do. Mm-hmm. The League of Women Voters when we were kids.
That's right. That's right. The League of Women Voters are a force to be reckoned with. They're amazing.
Yeah. And I don't know how you foster that culture, but I think it should exist.
Right. Like, how do we do that? And we as Holyoakers, not we as city councilors, why aren't there more organizations? I know there are organizations that are doing kind of this sort of thing, but we're a little too big and unruly to have a town meeting, but I don't know, maybe we should have a town meeting. We have a whole big city hall ballroom upstairs. Maybe we have a dinner and a throwdown.
Yeah. Why do we have people who say that they're afraid to speak under their real names? What's the worst that can happen? Somebody points and laughs?
Or you get doxxed. We have had city councilors who have doxed members of the public. I get why people want to be anonymous in some forums.
Yes.
As individuals. What I don't understand is when there are organizations that want to stay anonymous under this sort of we don't want to come forward because we're afraid we're going to get bullied.
Yeah. Well, but my point is you shouldn't have to be afraid that you're going to be bullied. Because there is a difference between, I think that the opinion you have just expressed is wrong and I am willing to explain why, and you are a bad person who should not show their face in society.
Right. There is a difference between that. If we're looking at sort of rhetorical discussion, I think sometimes people get very personally invested in things, and it's hard to separate those things out.
Yeah. Well, of course, this is also why, and I gather studies have shown this, anonymity on the internet can be a terrible thing.
Correct.
Real names on the internet can be a terrible thing. Because,
Yep.
yeah, people get harmed. But what works really well is persistent pseudonyms.
Interesting. Say
Because,
a little bit more about that.
yeah, no, I'm guessing that the reason that it works is that if you're willing to put in the time to build a reputation under another name, that character is somebody you're invested in enough that their reputation matters to you. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be a complete jerk because you're being the jerk.
Right. But there are some folks who do that. Like, there are a bunch of people on the internet who make fake profiles and names
But do they
to
keep
be
them?
jerks, to keep them. I mean, there are a couple. You see a couple of the same names on Facebook who are false names. You know, like, there are some very funny and probably inappropriate for me to say right now. Some, read between the lines here, my friends. Some people that make very funny plays on names and activities with their, false profile name. And they use it. Some of them are throwaway accounts, but some of them, they repeatedly do it because maybe they can't post under who they really are.
Well, except that has consequences.
Yep.
We know who they are, and we do not take them seriously.
There is that.
And that's the social cost of you're sued, getting a rep for, you don't care about the truth, you are not a very good reader of the news, and you are who you are and whatever. Mm-hmm. As opposed to charming Daffodil 10167.
Yes, back to the plants.
Yeah.
Who wants to throw in a comment, or like anonymous commenting.
Yeah. And those tend to be both obnoxious and, what's the point? They're not accountable.
They're not accountable. That's the thing. If somebody has like a real issue that they want to bring forward and they actually want to see it get worked on and resolved, like Anonymous Daffodil.
Yeah, Anonymous Daffodil doesn't usually, though.
Yeah, no. Well, sometimes. I mean, depending on, not necessarily Anonymous Daffodil, but like fake name that's clearly a fake name of somebody who is not a fake person,
Yeah. But our pal,
I think everybody's imagining, like, we're talking, there's like 12 different people we could be talking about,
Yeah. But, we all know who they are when they show up.
Yep, pretty much.
They are not really flying under fake identities.
Right. But sort of ending on a good note, the pool is open. I was pretty excited about that because, again, it's in my ward, so we had a lot of conversations about it. And Parks and Rec did an amazing job getting stuff done. The entire crew over at the pool is incredible. Very exciting to get over there, particularly in the upcoming, yet again, heat wave and get some swimming in. But it was this great moment where they're like, oh, we're going to get everybody together to get a picture. And I looked at the picture, and it's like all of the lifeguards who are in red and some of the pool staff who were in blue, and then this. I was like, rubber stamp, huh? Like, this is like, take the goth out for the summer. It was great. And they're just like they're an incredible crew of people over there. The pool is awesome. It's affordable. The passes are great. And they even have an accessibility lift, so folks who have accessibility needs can still get into the water. So go support the pool. It's awesome. All right, what else?
Well, I think that's probably a wrap for now.
Yeah, we've covered our list, but let's think about, next time. I know we can't get Holland on the show, but I don't know, maybe we'll get some guest stars in. I'm sure there'll be something else to be hot topics about. Next time we can talk about what's actually in your island now. I'm going to maybe replant some plants, and I don't know, maybe it's going to be all Norway all the time. Let's find out.
Yeah, I need to review that ordinance list.
Yeah, we got some ordinance work to do, but we have a couple of weeks before City Council starts back up. Our next meeting is on August 4th, which is, what do they call it? Midnight Madness, because it's when we catch up on all the stuff.
It used to be. Joe McGivern, the most awesome master of Robert's Rules I have ever seen. He used to go in there for that meeting, which was always stacked to the sky, and the speed with which they got through it, without anger, without any dramatics. man, you gotta hand it to him.
Yeah. Joe's no joke. Joe's awesome. I'm excited about some of the stuff that's coming up. Like, we've also got some really good proclamations coming in, recognizing a number of different folks in the city for some of the amazing work that they're doing, like elevating the profile of Holyoke by talking about the Puerto Rican connection to volleyball and how that connects to Holyoke, which is incredible. And, you know, recognizing folks who are doing incredible work with the Miriam Miranda basketball tournament and ending violence and really kind of working in communities and addressing it. Like, there are so many good things going on in Holyoke, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to start highlighting all that good stuff.
That will be fun.
That's going to be amazing. So, you know, stay tuned. City Council, never boring. I mean, I don't feel like it's boring.
I don't feel like it's boring. I feel like it's been a learning curve. I'm still not sure that I'm not on that slope crawling upward.
Maybe. I mean, it's been a wild 6 months. We got 6 more to go, and then it's back to election season, because next year is an election year.
Yeah, I can't even believe it.
I know. But, we just got here. But let's keep going. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. It's like an hour on the dot. Look at us. High five. High five. You know, fist bump, load up. Boom. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, what she said.
Heck yeah, Holland.